I'd like to thank you for joining us today for our webinar on using the Missouri Developmental Disabilities Content Self-Registration Portal. We frequently refer to that as the MODD Content Self-Registration Portal, and sometimes we've been known to use the word Relias interchangeably with that. So we're working real hard to make sure that we make that distinction and that we're talking about the MODD Content Self-Registration Portal. This webinar is going to provide a step-by-step instructions for using that content self-registration portal. We'll start with registration, navigation, obtaining certificates, and all of those wonderful things. One quick housekeeping item. If you have questions, we absolutely want and encourage you to submit those. If you will submit those in the chat box, and if you'll send those to all panelists, our presenter will try to address as many of those as she can today during the presentation, and then we will be sure to provide a question-answer document as a follow-up whenever we post the recorded webinar. And as I said, it is a recorded webinar. We will be posting that on our website, and we will be sending out that link in partnership with other upcoming email blasts. So you will be, if you have folks that you would like to hear this information and they weren't able to be on today, that is going to be available. We currently have 63 people on there and others arriving. So if it looks like you're alone on the webinar, you are not. And with that, I am going to turn it over to today's presenter, Christine Connell, and I'll let her introduce herself a little further.
Thank you so much, Heike. I just wanted to basically introduce myself. Some of you may recognize my name just from anything Relias related in the past, but I am the dedicated client success manager for MODD, and I work quite closely with Heike and Kat, and they asked me to come in today and just give sort of a walkthrough, a 101 sort of type course on how to use the MODD content self-registration portal. So I'm going to approach it as if you've never seen it before. If you have, I apologize, but I just want to make sure that everything is as clear as possible. And as Heike mentioned, please feel free to enter questions in the chat. While I'm presenting, it's a little hard to toggle back and forth, but once I get through the bulk of the walkthrough, I'll address any questions I can in chat. I'll also put my email address in the chat too, in case you think of questions later on down the road. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. So essentially, when you come in to self-register into the portal, if you've never been in here before, it's going to look something like this. You're going to see a little blurb here about the MODD content portal. We have a little information here in case you accidentally come into the wrong portal versus the employment support portal that we also host for MODD. But to reiterate, this one is purely discussing the content portal today. If you've never created an account before, you're going to notice down here under the login button that we have I don't have an account, create one now option. So as soon as you click into that, it's going to bring you into a registration page. There are a number of required fields. You're going to want to enter your first name, your last name, and you're going to want to create a username for yourself. I usually recommend just using your email address because it's obviously something easy to remember. But if you have a common username that you like to use, feel free to use it. The only caveat will be that if someone else has already previously registered on the portal using the same username, the system will bounce it back and you'll need to select something else. The other thing to be aware of is that the username and whatever password you give yourself are case sensitive. So if you use capitalization in your username or password, just make sure to use capitalization when you're actually logging into the system. We do also require that you enter an email address. The reason being that, honestly, we've noticed over time that quite a lot of you will come into the content portal and not remember that you already have an account. And instead of resetting your password using your email, a lot of folks have come in and created duplicate accounts. It's not the end of the world, but it does make it a lot more difficult to make sure that all of your transcripts and completions are hosted on one account. So I do recommend making sure you enter an email address that you use regularly, just so you can reset those passwords if needed. The other field that is required is your company name, and that's just to keep everybody sort of streamlined so we know where all the learners on this portal are coming from. Um, you should find your company name on this drop down. We have preloaded all of them into the system. So the quickest way to do it is just to sort of type your name and then sort of scroll through to find which one. Obviously, Missouri, that's a bad example because there's a lot of them, but as soon as you see your company name, just go ahead and select it, and then you're all set. The system will prompt you to click I'm not a robot, and once you submit, you're good to go. Now, the first time you log into the system, it will prompt you to set up some security questions. And again, that's just in case you forget your password and the system has to verify whether or not, which password that they're giving, making sure that you're actually who you say you are. So definitely fill out those security questions as well. But once you're into the system, um, basically your learner dashboard is going to look very similar to this. You'll notice here on the left-hand panel, we have a couple of tabs here. We have assignments, licenses and certifications, course library, and transcript. You also on the main page here have a learning and transcript tab as well. So when you first log in, there's a couple of different ways you can go about accessing a course to take on the content portal. You can either click Browse Course Library, which I'm going to do here, and you'll be able to see there's 35 courses to select from. If you scroll down the list and find something that you want to take, you would simply click the Enroll button. Oh, I apologize. I just got informed that you were not seeing my latest screen. Let me go back here to the main learning page. So once you sign up for your account and you get all your information put into the registration form and log in, this is the dashboard you will see. Like I mentioned, there's tabs on the left-hand panel, and there's also a couple of tabs here. In order to go ahead and get yourself access to some of the modules on the content portal, the easiest way to do that is to click Browse Course Library. Once you start browsing through the list, you'll see here there's 35. So that's not too many. If you want to, you can simply scroll down the list and go ahead and find which module you want. Or if there's something you're specifically looking for, you can keyword search as well. So you could um, keyword search something to drill down the list a little bit quicker. But like I said, being that there's only 35, it's not too bad to simply scroll down the list. But once you find the module that you're looking to take, you can go ahead and click the Enroll button. Once you click Enroll, you'll see up at the top it says you've been successfully registered for your chosen course. So if you click back to My Learning, or you can also click Assignments, it will bring you back to this page, and you'll now see where before it was blank, now there's a course here. This is the one that we just enrolled in. You may want to go right ahead at this moment and go ahead and click Take Now and start taking the module, or you may just want to get your dashboard set up. If you're not ready to take the course right then and there when you enroll, but you want to get everything organized and ready, you can come back into the Browse Course Library and enroll in other courses as well. As soon as you click that Enroll button, it will bring it over to your My Learning page, ready for you to take at any time. When you are ready to take the course, you're simply going to click the Take Now button, If you decide once you self-enroll in a module, you're like, oh, you know what, this wasn't the module I thought it was, or I'm no longer interested in taking this course, you can simply click the withdraw button and it will get it removed off your dashboard so that you can keep things up to date and clear. And withdrawn doesn't mean anything. You can always come back into the Browse Course Library, or you can just use the Course Library tab here. And you can always go back and enroll again if you change your mind down the road. So if we come back into the back to my learning page again, once you go in and you take the course, you take the final exam if there is one, you will be given a certificate of completion. Occasionally, if it's a Relias course, you may be asked to take an evaluation as well, and that's just so that Relias can get some feedback on how the course was, what you liked and didn't like. So feel free to, give as much or as little information as you like. It just requires, I think, you answer one question. So don't feel overwhelmed if you see an evaluation with 20 or 30 questions. You can just hit submit after answering the first question. Now, once you've taken a course, you've taken the exam, you've completed it, when you're ready to access your certificate, you can click on the transcript tab here or the transcript button there. They both bring you into the same page. And any completions you have will be listed here. It will tell you the date that the course was completed, the grade you received on the final exam, and this right here is the certificate icon. So you can click print certificate to simply pull up the certificate. Now, in most cases, these certificates won't be for CE credit, so you're just going to select certificate of completion, no CE credit, and then you can click print certificate. If we come back in here, if there's another reason that you may not necessarily need to pull a certificate right now, but you want to print your actual overall certificate, or I should say your transcript, you can click the print transcript button. This will give you sort of an export of all of the courses you've completed, a running total of the training hours, and the name of the course, of course, and the completion date and things like that. So that's just another way you can export a transcript. I think in general, the print transcript is probably particularly helpful for some of you that may, use another learning management system or use Relias outside of the MODD content portal and want to be able to show proof of completion to an employer. You can also, if you do have a Relias portal outside of the content portal, you can call Relias support and request a transcript transfer, and they can transfer completions that you've completed in your content portal over to another Relias account if you have one outside of this portal. A couple of things that I do want to mention that have come up recently. So just so that you're aware, I figured I would mention it as well. There are a couple of courses on here. For the most part, the expectation is that you definitely take the course from start to finish in its entirety. The tools of choice module specifically, if you are going to be taking those, do require that you are 100% on the screen and not doing anything else. And the only reason I mention it is because there have been reports from learners saying, I did all the modules, I did all the lessons, I did all the activities within those modules, and the exam isn't appearing or enabling. And I've personally gone in to these and taken them myself just to kind of get an understanding of what you can and can't do. And what I've discovered is even if you move screens to check an email or leave the training for a moment, it won't record that you've completed the activity. So even though you may think, you know what, I sat there, I watched most of it, I'm good. Just be aware that those ones in particular do require that you're 100% engaged with the learning management system during those courses. I just figured while we do have a larger audience, I would mention that because it does come up from time to time. In terms of any sort of help or, you may get in here, you're like, you know what, I don't remember what I'm supposed to do or where I'm supposed to go. This tab here, navigation help, is really helpful. It's kind of intuitive. You can type in a question. It will show you how to print your certificate. It will show you how to print your transcript. It will even show you how to add license and certifications, disable pop-up blockers if those things are coming up when you're taking a course. Um, on the content portal, you do have the ability to add licenses and certifications if you want to. That's more just part of your learner profile. If you have a professional role within the state of Missouri and you want to add in your license, the nice thing about it is if you do have it in here with the renewal period, Relias will just send you a nice reminder that you do have a renewal coming up. That's not to necessarily say that these modules in the content portal itself are going to meet that certification. But it is, obviously a training dashboard and a learning management system. So if you want to just have an additional support on remembering when you need to update a particular license or certification, you can add it into your learner profile if you wish. Um, if you get in here and you're stuck or something isn't quite working and you're not finding the answers you need to the navigation help, we do have Relias Connect, which is a social sort of community that gives step-by-step instructions on using the system if you need assistance. And you can also contact support through the help button here. So there are plenty of resources and support for you all. Occasionally, if Heike or myself or someone from MODD decides that we want to put out an announcement or an email or a particular attachment that might be helpful to you all, you may see something under the announcements button here. Right now, there aren't any announcements that we have on the site, so it's blank, but in the future, you may see something here. And obviously the learning summary here. Over time, you're going to probably take a handful of courses, so it will continue to update each time you take a completion. Don't worry too much about the compliance rate. The way Relias calculates compliance typically is who completes a module, quote unquote, on time. Because this is a self-registration portal and you're enrolling yourself into the modules, there aren't necessarily due dates tracked in this particular system. So there's never going to be a compliance rate. So don't worry if your compliance rate there is blank. It's probably going to be like that always. But in general, that's kind of the overview of the dashboard. I assure you, once you get your account set up and take a course and enroll in it and pass the exam and get a certificate, you'll realize how self-explanatory it is. But I will take a minute now I know that there have been questions popping up in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and look at the chat here so I can answer some of those questions for you.
Hold them, Christine, if you want me to read them out.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that would be great.
Do we need to create a login if we already have access to Relias?
Yes. So if you have a current Relias account, you have your own portal, but you're wanting access to the MODD content, unless your portal on Relias is tied to MODD, you are going to need to create your own login for access to the content on the self-registration portal. If you're interested in exploring what it might look like to get access shared to your Relias portal, I'm more than happy to talk you through that, what that would look like. But in general, we cannot just share out Missouri created content to portals outside of the MODD Relias setup because MODD needs access for reporting. They need access if we update a course or change an exam or add a slide. All of those things kind of come into play. I don't, off the top of my head, and I won't know whether your particular Relias account is tied to MODD, but I did put my email address in there if you'd like to go ahead and reach out to me. I can take a look and let you know what your best course of action is. But in general, yes, you're probably going to need to create an account on the content portal if you need access to those modules if they're not on your Relias site that you're currently using.
Do courses download into ESS? And I can answer that. No, they will not automatically download into ESS. You're going to have to manually input those. Another is, how do we reset a test if an employee has flunked a test twice? It asks for an administrator to reset. And I can answer that. With that, we are the person that has us build that course into Relias. They set the number of tries, for lack of better terms. They set the number of tries. And if, say, with this one, they say they set it at 2, then what they have to do is they have to email myself at cat.craig@dmh.mo.gov, and we will have to reset that internally so that the person can go ahead and take those again. Another is, as a provider, is there a way to have access to my staff who have completed training without them printing them or sending it to me?
On the content portal, no. Because it's entirely just a self-registration portal, it's very hands-off in terms of providing supervisor permissions and things like that. Everybody on the system is essentially a learner role in the system, which means that no one can see anyone else's completions. So if you're looking for information on your employees who are taking courses on Relias, we do recommend that they either export the transcript or a certificate. If they come to you and say, I completed tools of choice or a handful of other modules, you can reach out to Relias support and request a transcript transfer, and they will transfer completions from the MODD portal to your Relias portal if you have one. That would be the only way to see those completions. So you have a couple options there, but we don't give supervisor permissions to anyone on the content portal itself. So you wouldn't be able to just log in and look up stuff like you would on a regular portal.
Another question is, how will we know when we are supposed to take courses required? MELS was due by the end of the year. Will this be the same?
So this is Heike. I'm going to jump in and answer this one. So with that, at this point, if there is any content in there that is required, that will be outlined elsewhere and within your role and function or position, and it will let you know that this is where that course lives. Because this is a self-registration portal, it's not designed to offer up those reminders or anything like that like MELS did. So for those of you that are part of state staff or in support coordination, even outside of the state, that were required to do certain MELS courses at one point in time, that's not how this portal is designed. This portal is there so that we can ensure that any content created by the division that needs to be accessed by both internal and external team members, that it's there. It's available for individuals, families, providers, depending on what the type of module is. So there will not be anything that tells you what you're required to do based on the system itself. It will have to come from your role, your function, whatever that guidance is for your particular position. One thing that I would also mention is that Kat mentioned if you need a reset, by all means, please reach out to her. Also know that you don't have to remember who that particular individual is. You can always use our DD mail at dmh.mo.gov for course resets. We do have some modules that have some requirements. An example, for a reset, an example of that would be if you are part of a tiered supports agency and you are going through the tools of choice modules and the coaching component, there's a much more robust registration process, so that taking tools of choice module 1, there's a report ran to see who completed that so that then they could do the coaching session. And you have to pass that module. And if you haven't passed that module within X number of attempts, I don't want to tell you if it's 2 or 3 because I'd have to go off my memory, and that's probably dangerous. But it is to where that we can ensure that all of the right pieces are coming with that coaching component and those modules. The same way with, there's been a couple others where wanted to ensure that the individual was actually going back and reviewing the content. So absolutely email Kat. You're more than welcome to do that. But if you forget and think, oh gosh, I'm supposed to email someone, we have that DD mail address plastered everywhere under the sun. So that is always an option for you to reach out if you're having trouble. So the next question, and since I'm on a roll, I'm going to say, so this is designed to bring everyone to a universal learning tool. So our goal is that we can eventually get to a one-stop shop for as many items as we possibly can. I don't know if you are internal or external based on your question that you ask, so I can't answer with complete certainty. I can tell you that if you are a part of the state staff team, there will still be an internal portal where you will have some requirements that you'll have to meet. If you are in support coordination, our ultimate goal is that as we move forward with Connection, as we continue to try to streamline where the modules have been located, as in MELS, going forward to Thinkific, our goal is that after we get through the Connection transition, that we can continue to house all those trainings in this MODD content portal. And know that for those of you that have been following along with the Connection case management system, wondering about those demos and things like that, this is the portal that those will be located in. I do want to reiterate what Christine mentioned in terms of if you are a provider that has a sub-portal related or a portal that's attached with our portal, our being the division, we do push that content out to your sub-portal. So, but if you are outside of that, as she mentioned, we lose the reporting piece and we lose the integrity of maintaining updates. So I think I have, okay, I'm going to keep going because you tell me you're a case manager. So again, are you employed by the state of Missouri, or are you employed by a TCM? So I'm going to give that awkward pause while she responds.
And this is with SLRO.
Okay, so you're part of the state team. So with state team, you're still going to have components that you're going to have to learn. I'll say this, you'll still have trainings that you'll have to complete right now on the MELS platform because all state staff is required to do that. I believe that announcement and those modules got assigned last week is what I saw. So not everything is going to leave here at this time. I do know that DMH is continually looking at ways to update and streamline altogether, so can't speak to that, but everyone has the same goal. There's just lots of dominoes to getting us into that one same spot, and every once in a while one falls sideways and we got to regroup a little. So thanks for that question, and thanks for letting me dig through that. And I'll stop hijacking now.
No, thank you for jumping in. Your answers were far more eloquent than mine would have been. Are there any other questions, Kat, that I can help answer right now? And just to reiterate to you all on the call too, it might be a little ways up the chat now, but I did enter my email address. So if you're one of those folks that want me to check on whether your current Relias portal is tied to MODD or if it's a standalone, I'm happy to put you in touch with the right people at Relias if it's something you want to explore. So feel free to email me if you'd like.
One question that's come up. It says regarding the tools for change, it says to meet the requirement, you have to meet with a local representative to demonstrate your knowledge of the system. Heike, you could probably answer this one better than I could.
So that goes back to if you are taking that module just to learn more about tools of choice, anyone's welcome to take that module. If you are taking that module as part of a larger training and learning opportunity that includes a coaching component and that your agency is involved in that whole, in becoming a tiered agency, then yes, there is a local representative component and things like that. So what we're saying is anyone can take it, but if you're working toward being a tiered agency, there are other pieces involved. And those are outlined on the division's tiered support page. And I'm happy to drop a link into the chat for folks if that's helpful.
Christine, can you drop your email address back in the chat again? I do not see it.
Yes, definitely.
Does anyone have any other questions? Now's the time to ask about Relias and how to use it. Christine is a wealth of information on it, and it is new to a lot of people. So now would be the time to ask those questions. Please put those in the chat.
One thing I did fail to mention is that there are times that we have folks that may have been in the employment support portal or the content portal, or they're like, I don't remember what she said, or I just need some quick help or a reminder. I'm going to put a link to our education page in the chat. And if you go to that, there is an accordion there. The second one is titled Relias Self-Registration Portals. And there you can get not only the access, the link to each of those portals, but there's also written directions for accessing certificates, browsing electives, how to register and things like that. So we'll also be including a link to this webinar there, but these are other resources. So if you're one of those folks that have unfortunately gotten me on the call trying to get to the content portal, I usually make folks drive here so that they can have a place to bookmark to get back to it if they need to. So didn't want to lose that. And then I also promised you a link to the tiered supports page, and that is the next one I am putting in the chat box. All right, Kat, I think that's all I have.
I'm not seeing any more questions. So I'm thinking we're wrapping it up. Christine, do you have anything else?
No, not at this time. Like I said, please feel free to save my email if a question comes up down the road. I'm always happy to help as well. But for those of you that haven't been in the portal yet but will be, rest assured it's very user friendly. Once you get in there, it will be very easy to navigate. So hopefully the experience you will have on it is a good one. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Christine, for doing this. Thank you, everyone, for participating in today's webinar. This is very helpful. And again, this will be recorded and posted just in case you missed something. If you have any questions, please reach out to Christine, myself, or Heike. If we have to if you need to reset, go to that DD address to get that reset as well. And with that, I think we are done. Have a great day.